Pat Sloan here. So today we have a lot of things because the Bountiful Make-A-Wish kicks off today versus in a couple of days over in March. So it's starting today. So we're going to have that. But first we have Holiday Hoopla and the Harrisonburg. Plus today is Floral Design Day. I think that's exciting. So we want to share floral quilts, quilts that have flowers on them. This is sort of an extension of our getting ready to go to have spring come, have spring arrive. So if you have, and a lot of you are floral designers. I mean, I've talked to several of you that are, and I think that's pretty exciting. So quilts with flowers today. Go, share, share, share over at Quilt Along with Pat Sloan at my Facebook community. All right, let's do the Harrisonburg first. We're doing rows. And I am showing you mine with the my fabric line Sleepover. And so this week they're all pink. This is the pink blocks for the week. Next week I will put all four, because next week will be the fourth week. So I'll put all 4 weeks up there. And then we'll talk about doing the cornerstones, getting the cornerstones, you know, in that sashing. We'll talk about those next week if I don't forget. So I should remember. So this is what you're going to be sewing this week. You want 5 of them. See? Get all of those going. All right, Holiday Hoopla. I have the blocks up on the wall. We are on block number 5, which is the center of the quilt. Since this is a medallion quilt, where's the layout? Yeah, since it's a medallion, well, not really a medallion. It's a big 9-patch. But the center, I wanted to have something special, so we are on the hearts from the book. So let's go to the other side. Well, the quilt has a lot of shapes in it, but I selected the heart, and it would have been great to have had this on the Valentine's week and the shamrock on the St. Patrick's week, but I wanted to place those specifically where they are in the layout, and so that meant doing them when that came up. So anyway, we're going to do 4 of the hearts from Key to My Heart block. And they are scrappy. There's 2 fabrics in each one. Well, you could do more if you wanted, but I'm going to talk through a little bit about thinking on that. And since we were doing 4 of them for the quilt, and I also want to just mention the sort of the fabric that I'm working with, because it is super limited colors. They're basically these creams. Here we go. Let me just go the creams, the grays. I mean, the cream's the taupes. This is kind of a taupes, kind of a brownie color, you can see, and compared to the gray, and then the gray. And I did pop in, and then the red. So I did pop in some brown and green from my stash for a little bit of accent. This is what I pulled for sashing, which now I'm not sure that is going to work. We'll see maybe when I get next week's block. Next week we might look at that. I don't know that still will work. And then the border is these colors, one of the reds and the background gray. So there is just really limited, and so far I have not used these taupes, these sort of browny grays at all. I've just stayed with these 3 colors, and I like it. I like it like that. So I'm going to continue on. Now, one of the things you want to note is because we're going to be doing half square triangles for the bottom half here. That means originally I was thinking I would make each of the heart have 2 different sets of fabric, but then this half square triangle, we would have half of it left over. So we would have 8 large half square triangles left over, and I just don't want to do that. So I'm going to switch it up and do 2 hearts that are the same and the other 2 hearts the same fabrics. And then that way it is not as wasteful. If you want to do them differently, go ahead. You can do it. So I need to pick just 2 different sets of fabric. So I don't want to do the solid. I'm going to not do the solid. I'm going to pick maybe something that is not directional, since I'm going to rotate that bottom half square triangle. So we'll do not directional. So this is directional. Okay, so what do I have? I have these 5 fabrics that are not directional. So let's do 2 large prints. Okay, and then do Now these two are very similar, so like it's almost like why bother? So I think I would need, which way? Okay, let's go with these. Let's go 2 sets like that. So 2 hearts with these 2 fabrics, 2 hearts with those 2 fabrics. And I want to use gray. There was another gray. Where did it go? Oh, it's under here. So I'm going to have to do kind of the same thing. Just pick a gray to go with those 2 and a gray to go with those 2, like this. All right, that's the plan. I'm going to cut those up, and then the other thing I'm going to do after that, I'll cut them up and show you the 4 hearts before I assemble them into one block, and then we will look at making 2 large half square triangles for the borders, so you can see that, and I can actually put it up on the quilt. So, okay, gonna cut. Here are 2 of the blocks ready to cut. They're identical fabrics, so they'll be identical heart blocks. The large squares for the bottom, and then the other large squares that go with it to make the half square triangles, and then the smaller squares for the top of the heart, and then the even smaller squares, which are also for the top of the heart. And so I will cut the identical shapes again from the other set of fabric and sew them up. Here are the 4 blocks, and they are not all together. So I've got the bottoms, sewn like this, and then the tops are still 2 pieces. So when you're doing this, remember to alternate the colors so that you don't end up like this. But you could, if you like that. It's not horrible, but if you have 3 one way and 1 the other, that might bug you. It would certainly bug me. So, and then you cut them for a reason, so that you could mix them up. Otherwise you would have just done rectangles instead. So there you go. I've got to sew all these, and then I'll put the 4 hearts together, and then we'll look at the big border half square triangle. Here they are together, all 4 of them, alternating the colors. So these 2 blocks are identical, and these 2 blocks are identical. And there really wasn't then any waste as if I were going to do all 4 of them different, which would be fun. You could do a whole quilt like that, then maybe you could, make more of them. I'm always about, take this block, make a whole quilt. Okay, so we have this. But I want to talk about the half square triangles for the border, the big ones. So let me just show you how I approach such a large half square triangle. It is cutting a 9-inch square and finishing at 8.5. So I have got some fabric here. Got the gray fabric out, and then this is the border fabric. So I need 1 of each to make a set of half square triangles, and I'm using a 12-inch square. Now, if you have not invested in a square ruler, do so immediately. This one and then the bigger 24-inch are really indispensable. So what I'm going to do is, rather than trying to make exactly a 9-inch strip, first I'm just going to overcut it just a tiny bit so that I can just scoot this ruler along. And of course, my book's in the way. That's always the way, right? Always the book is in the way. So there I have my strip now. And rather than taking it like this and cutting along like that, I am just going to square up the squares. So I have some selvage here, and I want to be able to see what I'm cutting off. So let's just, and my book is still in the way. Yeah, okay. Get over there, girl. Get over there. So now I've got to do this. All right, so I'm just cutting off this selvage. And now I have, this is straight. This one is not the straight. This is the jaggy edge. So I will put this here, because remember I flipped it over. And now I would do my 9-inch square. All right, I had to shift to get that glare off the ruler. So I am going to do I'm going to truss the bottom edge, because I just trimmed that, right? I just trimmed that. So I have the 9-inch on the bottom and 9-inch on the squared side. I will cut across the top and then trim up the right-hand side. So now I have my 9-inch square. Remember, we're making half square triangles out of this, so you are going to trim again. So I've got 2 at a time here, and I need however many I need that the pattern says. I don't remember. Now I'm going to trim this one. So go across and then up the right hand side. And I need this I will use for other things. I will keep it. Then I will do the same for the red and show you marking. But I will, so I'm going to do the same thing for the red, but let me show you marking the sew line on the light. So I want to, they're going to be right sides together, so I want to go on the wrong side of the fabric. So you can see here's the right side, here's the back side. So we'll go on the back side, and I will need to draw a line. And this ruler just doesn't quite fit, right? Remember I talked about that the other day? And I know that most of the time, most of us will just scooch it, but I am not going to do that. And I've got pens here that I can write. I'm just, because the drawn line, you can either use that pen, it doesn't matter. This line is in the seam allowance. You're actually going to cut on it. So I can use any kind of a marker that I want. But I'm not going to use the square to draw the line. I will take my longer ruler so that I can go corner to corner without having to scooch the fabric at all and draw the line, because I'm going to sew 1/4 inch on either side of this, on either side of that. So I will be making, let me just show you that, see? So there's the line. So I will be sewing, drawing that on the back of all of them, cutting the 9-inch square, and I'll come back when I have that part done. So I've got them sewn. So I did all 4 of them that I cut. And let me just show you down on the table how to trim these, how I trim them anyways. So you remember we started with 2 large squares, and then I drew a line on the lighter one. So this is where I'm going to sew on either side of that line. So put that over here. And so here it is where it's sewn on either side of the line, 1/4 inch, just like we do every half square triangle in the world that I love to do. Now I want to trim this. So I'm going to use the long ruler again, because I just don't want to be scooting the ruler and have the possibility of, you know, doing something I didn't want to do. So I'm cutting it in half. There we go. Now these will all be pressed open. So you're going to press them open, and I've already done some. So here we go. I've got it pressed open. Now this is not the finished size. It is oversized, slightly oversized. So we need to use our ruler, and this is the 12.5-inch ruler again, and now I'm going to trim it to 8.5, which is what the pattern has. So I will take the diagonal of the big ruler and put it on the seam. The diagonal always goes on the seam. I think people who haven't done a lot of this will just sort of come at it by just laying it down and start trimming, and then you end up chopping off your points. So if you put it right on the seam, I'm going to trim 8.5. This one was pretty good on that side already, so I didn't have to trim anything. Weird. It happens sometimes, depends on how I sew that 1/4 inch. Okay, now I'm going to rotate it. So these 2 are good, and I will rotate it and trim the other 2 sides to 8.5 by 8.5. And you keep that line right here, so that goes right through the corner. This diagonal line goes right through the corner. And do a little bit here. And now I've got the exact size for the border. Let me do another one real quick. Then that way I have 2 to put up on the wall when we go over there and look at it with the other camera. Okay, on the diagonal, trim 2 sides. And if you like to use rotating mats, this is a great place to use them. You could just rotate around, but you're going to have to pick up your ruler, you know, because the rulers are too big. Yeah, I think even for a bigger rotating mat. Okay, so these 2 are trimmed to the size, and you can see here's the pattern, right? So we're going to have a border with these guys, these big guys, all the way around it. So I'm going to take the heart block, here we go, take the heart and these 2 and just go ahead and see how it looks up on the wall. I'm going to put this in the middle, right here, and it will have sashing around it. So these 4 down here, and this will be the 5th one that has the sashing. And then they all sit side by side, so you can actually see that on the pattern and right there. Triangles. Whoops, I did all of those that I cut. So I have a nice little grouping. Now I can't reach up there. Maybe if I pull them all down. So there we go. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I love those oversized half square triangles. They are amazing. Oh, so cool. This is going to be so cool. All right, when you're doing these, when you start working on the setting, and you can see that on the setting and it's all written out, but there is no inner border. So the 4 bigger blocks, these 4, they actually touch that half square triangle. So from this point on, when you're making your fabrics, like here, I'm not so worried, but you know, you might not want for the block here and those other 3 that you have a heavy emphasis of the same color touching, you know, with the border triangles. So that is, oh, and then that's the size, you know, so there'll be the set down here. Very, very cool. This is so exciting. I still have the sashing to think about, which will be another day, for another day. All right, we are going to talk about the Make-A-Wish project now. The Make-A-Wish project is hosted by Kimberly and Kevin Jolly at the Fat Quarter Shop, along with Moda Fabrics. They are the sponsors of it. They're raising funds to support Make-A-Wish and to have it in the area where the Jollies live in Texas. And so I've been running this along with them for quite a few years now, and my quilt is added into the auction so that it makes additional money for Make-A-Wish. And they generally can give wishes out to several children from this sew along, which is so amazing of your generosity in sewing along with all of us. Now here's a picture of the quilt, and my fabrics are totally different. So let's look at that. Let's look at the fabric that I'm going to use, called Bleu de France, and that is from French General, from Kari Mang, and that is the owner of the French General Fabric Company, and these are her fabric lines. The same ones I'm using for Holiday Hoopla. Imagine that, on the same day. I had no idea I'd be using 2 lines of French General so close together, but that's the way it worked out. So my quilt will be auctioned for charity, and so I'm very excited about that. We have baskets, 2 baskets, and of course you can watch Kimberly Jolly's videos with everything, all the details, but I am just going to be showing you my fabrics and then my finished blocks today. So I'm using also this as the background, which is another one of the basics from French General called Grunge. And this fabric line has beautiful navy. Look at this, gorgeous, gorgeous navy. And then kind of a same sort of tone, right, of cream. It's a darker cream with some taupey stuff again. And then a lighter cream here with a lot of blue on it. And there's a beautiful solid blue. And then these have like a light blue background, all of these. So I can't decide. I don't know until I start making this if I will add in any other colors, because I thought about adding some charcoal in here, like a charcoal gray. And then if I needed, because there's leaves and things, if I felt like I wanted to do the leaves in green and then a little pop of gold, we'll see if I use those. So the basket, I'm going to try to keep this first block just from the fabric line. I'm not going to add any of this into it. And so my baskets, I want to do dark baskets. So I have like a navy basket, and then I think for the other one I'll do a lighter basket. You know, I want to switch it up. I don't want them to be always the same. So for the center, for the star, I want to have something with a little bit of texture. So that's the same kind of fabric, but I don't want that. I don't want that. Could do something like that, or no, let's do this one on top. So these 2 for one basket, you know, for the middle part of the basket, and this light, I will do a dark star on it. I think I'll go ahead and use the solid. And then the handles will probably be, the handle, I think it'll be another shade of whatever. So like of the basket, so the handle, that'll be the handle of that one. And then for this guy, maybe I'll do this sort of fish scale. So that'll be the handle for that one. Okay, then there's a border around them. There's a border and then a little scallop. I am ready to put these borders on the 2 basket blocks, but I have been really thinking about what fabric, and what's the concept? Because there's only like 4 big units of this quilt, and then the crossway, and so each of these units has a lot of weight to it, and I want to make it look nice. You know, I'm struggling just a tiny bit on where to go with it. Now they both need another cream border around it. Then you have an inner border and the scallop, so you can see it here. So there's the inner border then and the scallop. On the original quilt that Kimberly's doing, 1 block is peach, 1 block is navy. And so I was thinking I could do a yin yang. I could take the blue, like these blues over here that I used in this one, and put them on the dark, and then take the dark ones over here. And so it makes a sort of yin yang, which I kind of like that. But then I thought, you know, I haven't used these taupes at all, and maybe that would be great for an inner border, and then an outer border in sort of that yin yang feel, where put the dark scallop over here, or I could do them both light scallops. But I'm kind of liking pulling it out, because that brings the navy out from here. And this doesn't actually have light blue in the center, but it's lighter, so it gives that same lighter concept. And they'll be, you know, opposite each other on the final quilt. So I think this is the way I'm going to go. And they're here. This is one. You know, they're very hard to hold up. They're big blocks again. So this is the second project with big blocks that we're doing. Well, they're not. Yeah. So the 4 of them will be pretty big. This looks super cute. I had to decide a different fabric for out here because of the ones that were already cut. I wasn't able to get easily everything I needed, so I just picked another light blue. And then I'm just going to hang this one here. So up here with Holiday Hoopla, and then here's the second one with the navy. So I tried to get Greg to come and model these for us, but that was a no-go. So this one has the navy on the outside. So you can see them together. And I'll have a picture on my website today with them up on the wall. I'll take these blocks down and put those 2 up and do a straight-on photo for you. So you're also doing Holiday Hoopla today. This is a jam-packed day for the last day of February. Download your March calendar. I actually am doing a blog post today because of the kickoff of the charity blocks. So there'll be a blog post, but also this is at my I Love to Make Quilts, where you just go to the calendar project page and you can download this and all the past calendars if you so want to. Okay, all right, my friend, I love you. Mwah. Thank you for being here in the Sloan Zone. I will see you online.